All right. Hey, y'all, it's Dr. Know It All. This was not a planned event at all this morning, but some breaking news here. There are some really interesting photographs and a video of a Model 3 that has been modded to look like a Cybercab. So we're going to talk about that. It is indeed the year of embodied AI. I know this is Optimus, but I would count the vehicles themselves, autonomous vehicles, as part of embodied AI because they are robots and everything. But I am super excited to take a look at this right now. So let's just go ahead and share the screen and trying to do this on my own. There we go. Okay, so I'll show the pictures bigger, but first of all, a big thank you to Nick Cruz Patine and also Mr. Salty P for sharing these pictures and video. So super cool. Refresh Model 3, so this is the new version of the Model 3, was spotted without any side mirrors and testing all new camera locations, rear window, trunk, side repeaters, and there are other ones. The car was seen in Palo Alto. What do we think? Thanks for the pictures. And then we also have, let me see if we can get a video. Yeah, the video is here. I'll turn off the sound. I don't know exactly what's in the sound, but just to make sure, let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so you can see it coming up here, and we're going to go into all the details momentarily. Looks like the window's open. There is indeed a driver in there. There was some question. People were like, hey, is there a driver? It's not autonomous yet, obviously, because as we go past here, you can see the driver looking very much like I am not going to look at anybody else that's out here. So yeah, so that's the video of it. And this is San Jose, Palo Alto. This is very, very close to the Fremont factory and also to the headquarters, the AI headquarters for Tesla. Interestingly enough, it has a Texas plate, which is a little bit odd. I find that very interesting that we have a Texas plate on a Tesla vehicle that is in San Jose. And it's a Model 3, which means it was probably made in California. So it's a little bit confusing why there's a Texas plate on that, but whatever. That just may have to do with, I don't understand how they have to register these vehicles, but maybe that's just because their corporate headquarters are in Texas, so they have to register it in Texas. So anyway, let's take a look at some of these pictures. Let's go ahead and blow this guy up a bit. And so if we look at this, you can obviously see manufacturer plate Texas. And again, so that just might be the reality that they have to do this. First thing you will definitely notice is that there is no side view mirror. That is very, very obvious. Secondly, the S in Tesla has been removed and there is a camera there instead. Normally that camera kind of sits under it, like right above the license plate. This has clearly been moved up to be in a different position. And we're going to look at this side repeater camera more carefully in just a minute. But also you'll notice that it looks like kind of duct tape over this, looks like duct tape back here. So this is clearly not the Cybercab, right? So put it in quotes. I know, you put that kind of stuff in the title so that people will click on it, but I don't want to have any misconceptions here. This is not the Cybercab. This is the Tesla Model 3 refresh that has been dolled up to gather data for the Cybercab quite clearly, because it's also just a crappy job, right? I mean, you don't production vehicle something and take the S out of the Tesla and put a camera in front of it. So we're obviously not talking about a production vehicle at this point, and it looks honestly like just duct tape over where the side view mirror and stuff is normally. Moving up to this, we can also see that there is a massive camera right here, which is really interesting, kind of looking out the passenger side window. You can also, interestingly enough, see that the B pillar has been duct taped over as well, indicating that they are looking at moving the camera from the B pillar backwards and giving it more of a front view. So that is really interesting, because you would honestly think that they would want to move the camera forwards and put it more, Chuck Cook is always talking about this. He's like, yo, we should move this camera forwards so that it can see better. So maybe there are other cameras that are there too. I don't know. But the B-pillar camera can only look basically directly sideways. Whereas this camera, on the other hand, is clearly shooting much more at an angle. I mean, it's hard to tell from this angle, but maybe 30, 40 degrees, maybe 45 degrees forward from where it is. So really interesting that it's as far back as it is and aiming forward. And also, again, very much of a kludge. This is not a production model, vehicle at all. This is really interesting here, is that you can see that the side repeater camera has like a little pop out thing. And if you zoom in on that, you can actually see that there are two little bars there. So I assume that it actually may be able to adjust its angle. It may be able to go like this. So it can function as a side view mirror that there currently are. that they're, on the side of just every car that's there. You can also see again that the duct tape, it looks kind of like wood here right now, but I think that's a trick of the sunlight. It's very, very late in the afternoon. Get that beautiful California golden light, and so it kind of looks like wood, but I'm pretty sure that that's duct tape. Duct tape here. But if you could imagine that this little guy right here would be able to rotate. So it was not just in one position, but able to go flat when it needed to be flat and rotate backwards as it needed to be to rotate backwards. That would be really interesting. Now that's going to cause, we're going to get to this in just a minute, but that's going to cause a huge headache to the AI team if that is the case, because the camera is not fixed. So don't know. The other option is that it just stays like this always and it just pops backwards, and that it's just a trick of the fact that they, again, are reworking a Model 3 into this. And so what they did was they were just like, well, we're just going to place it like this, and we'll have the old housing sitting there and we'll kind of prop it up. Don't know. There's a lot of unknowns with this. And then we have a Texas plate back here. I don't know, where is this? Maybe I'll look at yeah, there is one camera angle and I'm not seeing it right now. Let's see if I can find it, because I thought that we could see interior to the vehicle as well. I'm not seeing it right now. Somebody else had another picture, or maybe there's another one, or maybe I was just tricked when I was looking at it earlier. I thought that there was an interior camera that was looking back at the passengers, but maybe it was just this guy instead. So anyway, but then we can also see this rear view mirror is again obviously just kludged into place. It looks very much like a GoPro. I'm sure that's just the housing of is it Samsung, I believe, with hardware 4. It's possible, if folks know, I can't really tell. Maybe there's a hardware 5 that is coming out, and maybe they're placing that on the refreshed Model 3 as well. It is possible. I don't know. Early in the morning, by the way, sorry for the little bit rough voice. I was not expecting this. I had another video all queued up with breaking news, and this was even more breaking. So we're doing breaking news. All right. So anyway, a little difficult to tell. I've never seen the housing of the cameras that are in hardware 4. If we had a better angle, you'd be able to see if it had the little red reflectorized stuff. It's definitely not hardware 3 cameras. So the question is whether it's hardware 4 or hardware 5. We haven't seen any evidence of hardware 5 yet, but again, not a reason for Tesla not to do that in a forthcoming product. So again, very obviously duct tape included on here. We have Tela instead of Tesla, so they buried the S. If we go back and look again, so let me see if I can blow this up a little bit here. It doesn't really want to let me. There we go. It's very difficult to zoom in on Twitter, on X, sorry. But again, there's 2 little points sticking out here, and I'm not exactly sure what those are. It is possible that that is some sort of mechanized way of making the side view camera go in and out. The interesting thing to me is, and obviously you can see the human being, there's a steering wheel there clearly. So this is not, this is not autonomously driving at this point. There's a dude in the car, quite obviously, who's driving. So the question at this point is, why did they remove the side view mirrors at all? Because that's not necessary for testing. Those side view mirrors don't really add any like functionality, right? There's no cameras in them. There's nothing that these Teslas can actually look at. So they could have just left it on. So I don't know if maybe they've pushed them or taken them off as a bid to get regulatory approval, because Elon Musk did post yesterday. Somebody posted a like a concept Cybercab thing, and he said soon no side mirrors and no rear view mirror. So that would indicate that we're looking at a situation where maybe Tesla is pushing regulators hard right now to go with more of a European style and get rid of the side view cameras. And maybe this is again a pathfinder. Maybe it's gathering data to show that it can adequately do this. So part of what they might be doing is not just gathering data for a new cybercab, robotaxi, whatever you want to call it, but also looking at the situation where they can gather data to prove that the vehicle itself is safe to drive with outside view mirrors. So that is a secondary possibility that they're doing. And again, with those 2 little pinions here, that wouldn't be a very big actuator or motor, to flip it in and out. But again, this thing is ultra lightweight, so maybe it doesn't need it. Or again, it's just a trick of the fact that they have replaced the old version of it, which is flat flush to the surface, with this thing sticking out. So again, I would not consider this at all final. This isn't the final thing. They would probably have it sticking out on a stalk instead. So let's see. Go backwards. This guy. And then this side camera here is very interesting. There's obviously one on the other side as well. You can see the big, just kind of a box that they've put it in. And it looks to be the same camera that was mounted on the rear plate, except vertical instead of horizontal, right? So this looks like this guy right here. And if we go back double, you can see that it looks like inside the mounting hardware, we've got the same thing, except it's mounted vertically instead of horizontally. If that is the case, it could just be the packaging and you'd go horizontal. I don't know why you would want to do it vertical, because you'd want to have the widest angle possible. So yeah, I don't really have an explanation of that, unless it's just the B pillar camera here that's been replaced here, and just they've rotated the camera 90 degrees. So it's a vertical like positioning, but it's the camera's rotated, so it's horizontal. I can't imagine they would do vertical. It doesn't make any sense. You don't really need to see the sky. You want to see more of the horizon instead. And then just very, very roughly done prototype kind of stuff. Then obviously we've got duct tape over here again, like I said, and that's pushing that off. And a nice shot from the back where you can see more of the whole thing at once as the car is traveling through there. So what does this indicate to us, to me? So it is now May 15th. So we've got June, July, August. We've got about 3 months till the Cybercab reveal date on August 8th, which is very, very exciting that that's coming up. And the likelihood here, I mean, almost 100%, assuming these things are real. I mean, let's all be, I have to assume that these things are real, because we have a video as well as these pictures. If somebody's doing fakes, they're doing really, really good fakes, and they've gone to the effort of even making it look kind of kludgy and stuff. So again, with that caveat, assuming these are real, and if somebody wants to go and look at the Texas plates and see if that's actually registered to a Model 3, then you can actually go ahead and do that. But assuming they're real, we're looking at a Pathfinder. We're looking at a car that has been modified to gather the data that a Cybercab is going to need to have to operate. So there's a couple of things that are really interesting here. Number one is that we're talking about a vehicle where they're actually gathering data already. My breaking news that got preempted, part of that was the Cybertruck getting full self-driving. And there's a certain amount of data that's necessary before you can move full self-driving, autonomous driving into a new form factor. And this is clearly a new form factor. If we've got the camera up significantly higher than it was before, if we've got these B-pillar cameras especially moved very, very significantly from where they were, and if you've got the front repeater cameras pinion back like wings or something, then all of these positions and angles are different. If the front camera, for example, if this guy is actually mobile, if it can move back and forth, that creates just kind of a nightmare scenario for the AI team. Because one of the things you can always do is you can assume that the cameras are locked into place and that they have a certain view angle, and then you can construct a 360-degree scene from that. If this thing is mobile and can rotate back and forth, I'm kind of, I don't know. Unless I know the Tesla team is way, way smarter than I am, but that would be something that would keep me up at night in the cold sweats if I was on the Tesla AI team. So I don't know that they could manage that. I think what they've done is they've taken this repeater camera and they've turned it into a rear view mirror camera. And interestingly enough, they did not put it up here. So the expectation would be that they would put the camera up here, where traditionally, if you've seen European vehicles, a lot of times they have these little stalks that stick out right at the doorpost area. So instead, they've got it down here, which means it's significantly lower than where the traditional one is. The advantage of this is it's locked in place on the front quarter panel of the vehicle. It is not rotating. The traditional, side view mirrors here, sorry, I think I said rear view, but the side view mirrors, they traditionally rotate in and out as the door is open and closed, which can cause calibration issues, among other things, because the door doesn't close exactly the same over time, right? It slips around, it moves around. It also creates a situation where as the person is opening and closing the door, they could bump it, they can hit it, they could knock it off, all of those kinds of things. So this guy is in a safer position because it's sort of protected from the moving parts of the vehicle and where the passenger would enter and exit the vehicle. Now, obviously, this sort of a shape would not work. That cannot be the final design of it. Even if it rotated, they would have to build a little housing in it so that it would rotate around like that. But I think what they would do is just build a little aero shell, right? It would have a little little bike helmet looking thing on the front of it to create an aero thing and also protect it from people bumping it and stuff like that. So that would be the expectation. But these two work together. So again, we traditionally have 3 cameras up in the front, in the windshield of the vehicle. We have a camera here, 1 in the back. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, that's 8. Right. So I was just making sure I had it right. So you traditionally have 8 cameras. Here we've got the other camera. Whoops, went the wrong direction here. Here we have 1, 2 cameras, 3, 4 with these front 2 guys, 5 with the backup camera over the license plate now, and then potentially 6, 7, 8 up on the inside the windshield. Maybe they've changed it to 2 cameras, 5 cameras. Who knows what's in the front of the windshield? But that would be the traditional 8. They just moved around. But then it could also be like the Cybertruck, and it could have a camera that is mounted in the front over the front license plate area. We can't, of course, see that, so we don't have evidence of that. But it looks to be that they have not really adjusted the camera from where it was previously. So that, sorry, they haven't adjusted the number of cameras. They have adjusted the position of them significantly, but they haven't adjusted the number of cameras unless they've added an extra one in the front, which is possible. But that's also a pain in the butt because you have to have like the Cybertruck where you have to have a little squirty thing that cleans it and stuff. But again, they've already pathfinded that with the Cybertruck, so that is quite possible. So there might be 9 cameras instead of 8, but the bigger issue is that they've moved them. And again, you can see that the traditional B-pillar camera has been covered with duct tape. So this guy has moved from looking sideways out at, if you think about the car driving this direction, looking that way, looking across the road to see where traffic is, to looking straight back, as it is a side view camera now. You look at these guys have been moved backwards significantly. They're no longer in the same position, but they're also now shooting at an angle like this out forward so they can see the road more at a forward angle. And then you've got the front cameras that are also looking straight ahead, obviously. And you've got the rear camera, which is up higher than it was previously. If I got the angle. Yep. Okay. Finally getting the direction of all these things, but you've got this rear camera that is up higher than it used to be. So the position of every single one of these cameras, except for the front cameras, as far as we know, have been adjusted and moved. And that makes a really big difference. That's a whole new training data set that's got to go into Tesla's AI team. And that means that they're going to need to collect a lot of data and refine tune things. This is even bigger than the Cybertruck because the Cybertruck still has the more or less traditional placement. It's just that the truck itself is huge. So it changes where the cameras are in terms of how far off the ground they are and how far, back and forth they are. I don't think this is going to make Chuck Cook particularly happy because unless this guy in the front rotates, unless it swings back and forth, and maybe what they have is, gosh, I still don't know how that would work, but they could have a 2-position one that like it looks straight back and it's just rotates and it's straight flat. If that's the case, then what they could do is use it as a B-pillar, sort of like the B-pillar camera, but moved forward in the situation where it needs to make a left-hand turn and it's creeping out and it needs to be able to see. But what you give up in that case is the ability to see behind you very well on the side view sort of front, but you do have this guy. And if you take advantage of hardware 4 on the rear camera, then you could get a very, very wide view. There's been a lot of people complaining about the fact that hardware 4 cameras have their field of view reduced because they're emulating hardware 3 cameras, but that actually the rear camera on hardware 4 can see, it's not 180, but it's very close to that. It's like 160 or something. It's a very, very wide angle view. So you don't necessarily need those side view cameras. So maybe what Tesla can do is they can have it like this, and then it can flip to a side view And that way, instead of being continuous like this, that, like I said, would keep me up at night if I was working on the Tesla AI team, that's just two positions. So you train for either position. And the only time you would really need it looking out sideways like that was in the Chuck's left turn or my left turn sort of scenario, where the car has to come out and it has to creep up and be able to see visibility from to the right and to the left where it's semi-blocked. And you need that, that forward ability to view. So if that's the case, and I'm doing this real time, right? So if that's the case, that would be very impressive. And you could train for a dual position kind of thing. It's like, okay, normally it sits like this and it's doing the side view camera and it's checking to make sure if anybody's in your blind spot, all that kind of stuff, traditional side view sort of mirror functionality. But then if it comes up to a situation like a crazy left-hand turn where it can't see very well, they flip so that they're horizontal and they see directly out the side and they're significantly forward. I mean, if you look at that, right, the traditional B-pillar cameras are way back here. And this would give you several feet, maybe not a meter. I don't know. I can't remember exactly how big doors are, but it's going to give you 2/3 of a meter or a couple of feet worth of being able to look further forward. So that could explain the reason why the camera is in that sort of situation. It can flip back and forth. So if we get some more pictures eventually, we might be able to find that out. That would be super, super cool. And then of course we've got this guy back here. If you have the front camera that's no longer looking sort of backwards, that's the traditional view. Is trying to do this with my fingers here, but you've got the car is like this, and traditionally that front repeater camera looks sort of backwards at like a 30 or 40 degree angle. Instead of that can look perfectly sideways out from the front, and it can also look straight back if you want to. And then that means that this side one here, and also because it's a Cybercab, you don't have to have it like elegantly placed inside the B-pillar camera. You just you just place it there. The window itself, eventually you're going to do this in a much more elegant way, but maybe the back windows don't roll down and there's just a little spot there where eventually you have the camera. And so as the person gets in and out of the vehicle, maybe the thing's going to be a two-door sort of weird gull wing thing, right? We haven't seen the Cybercab design at this point, but maybe it'll be a gull wing, and so that will be not even something that has to move. So it's possible that there's that kind of a thing. But anyway, this will be able to look forwards now. So again, as the car is straight forward, it'll be able to look forward and see a very, very wide angle. So you've got your front cameras, which may actually be reduced from 3 to 2 or something. But anyway, they can see out to the front and the different ranges and all that. But then you have this guy that's looking and it's seeing very, very far out to the sides. And with a wide angle camera, of course, it'll be able to see all the way to horizontal and slightly behind it. So between those two cameras, the front and the back, the rear, the positioning of them will still allow the vehicle to drive very, very safely without needing to be festooned with more cameras. So that is actually pretty impressive to look at, assuming that this has any kind of connection to the Cybercab itself, which I imagine. I don't know why they would have built it otherwise. So they may be testing out exact positions. They may be gathering data, exact kind of data, things like that. But it would be very impressive if they are able to take the 8 camera standard situation, or maybe 9 again with a front bumper camera, so it can drive around in smaller areas. I would not be surprised at all if they put that in there, since it's in the Cybertruck already. But basically, if they can take those standard cameras they already have and adjust them in their positions to be able to do better as a Cybercab and to get more visibility, that would be a very, very impressive undertaking that they would do. So again, this is very cool. The fact that they've got it looking forwards, this is super interesting, very, very intriguing. If they do indeed have it so that it can flip back and forth, then we've got that creates an entirely new paradigm for doing cameras instead of permanently mounting them. And again, the software challenges are kind of huge for that. But yeah, for people who might have joined the live stream late, this is a big thank you to Nick Cruz Patine and Mr. Salty P for uploading these pictures here. This was spotted in the Palo Alto, San Jose area. So right near Tesla's Fremont factory and right near their AI headquarters. So the obvious logical place for them to be gathering data for doing a Cybercab. This is, as you look at the images and look at the video, let's take a look at the video again. Yeah, I've got the sound off. So they're driving by. You can see there's a driver definitely in the vehicle. It is not being like autonomously driven. There's none of that kind of stuff. But you can see that the vehicle itself is sort of kludged together. It's obviously a refreshed Model 3 that they're using, not the Cybercab form factor, but it's a Pathfinder data collection sort of entity. And if we take a look at these close-up pictures, you can see Texas manufacturer plate. Again, probably just because they're based out of Texas, they have to register in Texas because the car was made in California and it's being tested in California. So it must just be a legality thing that they have to use Texas plates. You can see that this is very kludged together because the rear camera has been moved up from the license plate area to the top of the vehicle. Again, probably because that's where the Cybercab is going to need it. This indicates even more to me that it's going to be a hatchback because it's going to be up higher like that. And we've already seen some prototype designs. You can also see the fact that they've duct taped right over the S in the Tesla. You've also see that they've duct taped over the B pillar, the traditional B pillar camera. You can see that they've duct taped over and removed the side camera, and that they've taken the B pillar camera thing and they've moved it back here and they've changed the angle, and that the front repeater camera is now on some sort of a swivel arm. So we get some closer up stuff. You can see that that guy is, like this, pointing up like this, instead of in the B pillar camera, B pillar, where it would be pointing out straight sideways. Again, you can see that there's a guy there. So again, not driving autonomously. I'm sure it's just gathering data. And then we most intriguingly see this guy right here, which is a camera on some sort of a swivel. And so, again, real-time hot take on this is that maybe what they've got, because I don't see other cameras, is the ability to take it from looking straight back and functioning as a side view camera to rotating like this to flat. So only two positions, not multiple positions. But as a flat one, it can operate as the B-pillar camera looking out sideways under the rare circumstances where you really need to be able to see, where it's, Chuck's left turn or my left turn, where the car has to creep out and gain visibility. This would put the camera way closer. Currently, this is where it has to creep out to, so that this camera right here can see, down the road. This would give it so much more visibility. It would only have to creep its nose out, really, really short distance to be able to see into that intersection. So that should be able to solve that issue. Okay. So I've been blabbing for a long time. Let me see if I can go back. I apologize. I know a lot of people have been writing. I'm going to go and try to see if I can answer a few questions here for a while. And see, can't be fake now is a video. Yeah. Facts animals. Yes, I agree. I mean, I think if they were pictures, maybe, but that video indicates pretty heavily that this is real. Again, deep fakes are getting better and better, but I kind of just can't believe it. Tesla has job postings for drivers to collect road data in anticipation of robotaxi. Indeed, we've got that. Thank you, Rhett. Best mirror is no mirror. Yeah. Thank you, Tyrone. Yeah. But again, the big thing with the mirrors, the side view mirrors, is that is a legal requirement. But Elon Musk, and I don't have it up right now, I can't bring it up. I'd have to go search for it. But Elon, within the last 24 hours, said that they are going to soon, we will not need rear views or side view mirrors. So I think that they are working very hard with regulators with NHTSA probably to create a European Union style situation. In the EU, you can have these little stalks that stick out of where the side view mirrors are normally, and they're cameras and they function as side views, and you just have your screen and you look at it. And with the Cybertruck already, you're using the rear camera because the mirror and the rear view mirror in the Cybertruck is the most useless thing in the world. What they could have maybe done is put an actual little video display in there instead. That would have been useful. But I think, again, they're not allowed to by NHTSA. But so it sounds like within the near term future, they will be able to use the rear camera as your rear view mirror, and they will be able to use the side repeater cameras as your side view cameras, and they'll be able to strip out all this other stuff. So that will be very, very cool when that happens. And that's one of the reasons why this guy right here is really intriguing, because it's obviously functioning right now. It's flipped backwards like this. It's functioning as a side view camera, but it's much lower than the current one, but it's also on the quarter panel. So it's not being jiggled around and flopped around as the door is open and closed, which is what you have up here. But again, like I said, I think the other functionality part of that, it's obviously on a swivel. Don't know if it's mechanized, but if it is, that means it could rotate. Right. And I don't think you could have continuous rotation, because that creates just a nightmare scenario for when the AI team has to train on their data. They don't know exactly where the camera is, but if it's only two positions, they can train on both of those positions. So I think that would work. again, just sort of ballpark spitballing this thing. But yeah, but Tyrone, definitely best mirror is no mirror. Oh, come on, Opsar. I said Cybercab question mark. I mean, I did do that. And I know you got to generate some interest. I apologize, but it's the nature of the YouTube game. I personally hate it. Actually, I would love to get comments from you guys. I can do a meta video at some point and talk about the behind the scenes stuff, because in order to stand up and be seen from all the noise, you really have to like do things that really push the bounds, and it makes me very uncomfortable. I hate it. I would much rather have like just dry scientific titles. That would make me happier, but then 10 people would watch. So I feel like you have to understand that the titles and thumbnails of videos are only designed to get people, not you. If you're, if you like to watch my channel, thank you. First of all, I appreciate that, but also just ignore those titles. Just ignore the thumbnail, ignore the title, just watch the video and you'll see the stuff. It's just playing a game. You have to kind of like rise above the incredible amount of noise on YouTube right now. Anyway, but I apologize. I hate doing it. I don't think it's clickbait because it is a question mark, Cybercab. It's not, but it is a pathfinder for it. Okay, so Rhett says first, Robotaxi likely will be Model 3 or Y, not unboxed 25K car. Quite possible. Rhett, I think maybe yes, just because what they'll do is they'll use the current fleet of vehicles that are out. The unboxed vehicle, they are clearly talking about making a less expensive car, but doing it more rapidly. That's kind of a hybrid boxed unboxed method, which will be like probably a hatchback, but around the $30,000 range. So it won't be quite as cheap as what they originally said. But the Cybercab, I'm pretty sure they're all in on the unboxed method. So it's just going to take them time to ramp that up. So you're probably right. If they get regulatory approval and all of that kind of stuff, that they will actually do the first robo taxis will actually be, just what we have currently, a Model 3, Model Y, etc., things like that. So yeah, it's quite possible. John Twiggy, Brian at Futurosa thinks it's more likely it's collecting data to verify Cybertruck FSD with the camera positions lining up well with that. Interesting. Oh, that is curious. I don't know. I mean, maybe it could be that, but I don't know about that rear. This guy right here looking straight backwards is not what the Cybertruck has. And additionally, this angle, the B-pillar camera on the Cybertruck looks out straight sideways. So I mean, I think Brian is like super smart, and he could be right about that. I respectfully disagree, because I think they have enough Cybertrucks out that they can just capture the data with the Cybertruck, and they don't need to go. This is expensive. This takes some time. Obviously not well done, but it takes time and thought and effort to create what they've done here. And why not just drive a Cybertruck around? So I don't know. I respectfully disagree with Brian on this one. We can have a battle in Michigan. We're going to be up there in June, actually, just like a month from now. We'll be up in June for the Michigan Tesla takeover. So come join us. You can watch Brian and I fight it out. All right. Anyway, Shinobi says, I think the cameras in the front and rear bumpers at the sides would be ideal. Really? Okay. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're obviously seeing. Oh, you think down in the bumper itself? Interesting. I don't know. I think that might be a little bit too low, and it might pick up more dirt and grime and stuff like that. So up higher is not the worst thing in the world if it's up over that lip, because it can see pretty much directly down, and you can see from the angle of it that it is, if I get the right direction here. Yeah, you can see that it's actually pointing downward. And again, it really does look like it's just, I mean, I swear that's like something that I would do. It looks like the software team did it, not the hardware team. How's that? Love you guys. I think that's great. It's exactly what I would do if I had to do it. I'd just like tape a GoPro onto it and be good. Okay, front fender cam. Perhaps the simulated car is wider than Model 3. That is possible as well. Good morning, Matthew. I don't know why people are saying that this was clickbait. It was, oh, goodness gracious. Also, just remember, this is early in the morning. I had to come up with a title and a thumbnail before I even sat down and did this. So I'm doing my best here, folks. Okay. Where do trolls go? Oh gosh. Okay. So everybody's just hating on me right now. So thank you for hating on me. The Cybercab, well, okay. So this is Kevin Smith. The Cybercab won't be the same dimensions as the Model 3. They are just mocking up the positions of where the cameras would be on the cab to gather, I assume, video to train test neural networks. Yes, Kevin, absolutely. Totally agree. Let's see. Yeah, when the side mirrors would be in the view of the pillar camera. Oh, yes, thank you. That would, Kevin, I appreciate that. That would be why they've probably removed these side cameras. Yeah, that makes sense now. Yeah, because this guy right here, I was like, why would they even bother taking it out? Because what difference does it make? But given the fact that that rear camera is kind of angling forward, that means that it would block the vision. And of course, that doesn't matter for the driver and the camera, but for the data gathering, they don't want to be gathering data with a big blob of side view camera that's in there. It is interesting because I don't know that this car is legal to drive without side view mirrors. I guess because it was manufactured with side view cameras and they took it off post making the car, that they're allowed to do that, because I think you are allowed to do that after the fact. But interesting. Yeah, thank you, Kevin. That is brilliant. That's exactly why they're doing it. They don't want all of their data to have a mirror just sticking in there. That would cause a lot of noise in the signal. So yeah, thank you. That's great. 100% tariffs. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about China this morning. It's too early to talk about China. Move the yeah. So Bob Allen says, Chazman or Chuck's favorite, ask of Tesla, move the side-facing cameras further forward to reduce the need to creep into traffic. So hopefully I've explained kind of how that might be working with this camera right here. If it can do a dual position thing, can flop back and forth, it could function as a much more forward side view or pillar camera, even though it's not on a pillar anymore. Yeah. So let's see what else we got. I doubt it will be flipping from Chow Tesla. I mean, again, like I said, that just seems like a lot of hardware and software and nastiness, but it's a hot take. I'm just sitting here coming up with this stuff as we go. So you could be very, very correct. Yeah, and Mallow says kind of weird to add a more complex mechanical system to the camera. I could also see potentially, except I don't know, it may be more expensive to add another camera than it would be to add the rotating thing, because I could see another one where they just placed two like that on the same spot. So one's looking more backwards and one's looking sideways, and they just have two cameras kind of coexisting right there instead. But that is more camera feeds that it would have to deal with. So that's a bigger data stream. So that you got to remember, this is it's an engineering trade-off between the hardware and the software. And the software guys might have been like, we are not comfortable doing this with 10 cameras or extra, because there's probably, again, one on the front bumper, but they may not be comfortable with having more cameras there. So they might just be like, look, can you make a mechanical thing that'll go back and forth? Again, Pathfinder, it's quite possible that this is an early iteration. And if we see another one in two or 3 or 4 weeks, that it will have very, very different stuff on there, because they might be like, whoopsie, we realized that we made some mistakes. So it's a Pathfinder quite clearly, and we're figuring out what's going on. Matthew says, do MCU folks need to get the upgrade? I thought this was supposed to happen. Oh yeah, that's a whole different ball game. So I am assuming that this is hardware 4 on this vehicle itself, because that's what the Model 3 is, the refreshed Model 3 is using. Possibly it is hardware 5. This camera here looks very, very thin. Whatever that form factor is, it's not a big bulky box like the other ones are. So it's possible that that is a new form factor camera. Don't exactly know. Yeah, let's see what else we got. Okay, so William Grunsvig, I guess. Each state has rules regarding side mirrors and inside mirror. Glad my state allows exterior mirrors to be removed per state law. I don't know what California's is particularly, but I do know that that is true, that every state has its own laws. And I know a lot of them have aftermarket, you can remove it. Maybe that's why it's registered in Texas. Also, that might also give away why it's registered in Texas instead of California. Maybe Texas is very, very friendly to people doing whatever the hell they want. So it's possible that in Texas, you can remove the side view mirrors. In California, you can't. So they're like, well, hell, we'll just register it in Texas, then drive it over to California and test it there. So yeah, that is quite possible. So that's part. Yep. Okay. Private name 123 just wants to know when Juniper will be produced. I know, right? I would love to see that refreshed Model Y. That would be excellent. It would be pretty impressive. How is this a cab? Fractal Elf, I went, if you go back to the beginning, I explained how this isn't a cab, it's a pathfinder for it. It's duct taped, it's kludged together, clearly duct taped here, clearly duct tape here, and clearly duct to tape here as well. So it's a Model 3. It is not the Cybercab at all. It is a Pathfinder design to gather the data, as far as I can tell, and makes sense. So okay. All right. So anyway, I am going to shut this one down. I've got to get back to work. Like I said, I had other breaking news that got preempted by this breaking news. I think this was worthy. I mean, I know it's speculation, but this is based on, again, assuming these are real pictures and real video, which I have no reason to doubt. This is worth talking about because it's really interesting to look at how Tesla is moving forward. To make an argument for the worthiness of this video is that Tesla is making these changes, and this is giving us a glimpse inside both the hardware and the software teams attempt to go from a driver type vehicle like we currently have that will eventually hopefully drive us around without us having to pay attention to a full-fledged Cybercab system that can't have any intervention. So it's got to be more robust in terms of the way that it operates. So you could imagine in our current car, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to drive you around. You don't have to intervene. But if I do get stuck in a situation, I'll pull over to the side of the road and request that you take over. That's not possible with the Cybercab. That's a whole different ballgame, right? That's the reason why Cruise and Waymo have these people someplace in the Philippines, I think, or something like that, with joysticks that can actually go into the vehicle remotely, drive it around and move it out of a bad situation and get it back on the road again. I don't think Tesla wants to do that. So what they need to do is create a much more robust camera system that can operate pretty much always without needing ever to have human intervention. And that makes it very, very different than the Model 3, Model Y, Model S, Model X, and the Cybertruck, because that always will have the ability for the human to intervene if needed. As long as the car can like get into a safe situation and say like, yo, I need you to take over now, right? Even when it's L4 autonomy, it can drive around 99.9% of the time, but once in a while, if it gets stuck, it can ask the human to come in and intervene. That is no longer available with the Cybercab because you won't even have a steering wheel or gas pedal or accelerator, etc. So there won't be anything to intervene with. So it has to be more robust, which I think explains why they're looking at very, very different camera positioning and a lot of different possibilities with that. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody getting up early with me this morning. Well, if you're in Europe, it's the afternoon, but whatever. For everybody else, you got up early. Thank you so much for this. If you're watching this in replay, let me know in the comments what you think about that as well. I'll go back and revisit the title and thumbnail. Maybe it is too clickbaity. Like I said, I was doing it at like 8 something in the morning and I was just like, so I was doing my best to come up with something reasonable that would pop and make people pay attention, but not be too clickbaity. Anyway, apologies if that was the case. I will, enjoy your day, and everybody, I will see you in the next video, which is also breaking, but is now going to be pushed back till later today or tomorrow morning. So see you in the next video.